Hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum, namaste, sat sri akal. My name is Farheen Khan and you're watching the AZEEZA show. This week we're going to talk about International Women's Day and the idea of resilience, or basically hitting rock bottom and then making your way back up, standing up again when you fall. And so here we are at the show. We've got our guest in studio, Sarah Neme. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And Sarah, alongside of Sarah, one of the things that we also wanted to share this week is some highlights from our Resilience Gala. It was the very first AZEEZA Gala that we were able to host for International Women's Day, and so later on in the show we'll have a chance to look at some highlights. But for now, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here.
My pleasure. So Sarah, tell us about your organization, Being Me.
So Being Me, where the Me stands for Muslim Empowered. So it's a Muslim women's group that was formed here with the idea formed about 10 years ago, and the first conference formed about 8 years ago, where we sort of bring everybody under one roof, and we provide a platform for Muslim women, and non-Muslim women as well, all women. And we, in the GTA, that talk about social issues, spiritual issues, and just all about self-development and self-growth.
Right. Okay.
So we've actually this is our 8th annual conference coming up this March 23rd.
Okay.
We've had conferences in Vancouver and Calgary, and hopefully we continue to do that. We will continue to do that every year.
Wonderful. And so this year's conference, you've got a particular theme. I saw it was called Breaking Dawn, I think.
Yes.
So what does that? Can you tell us a little bit about that theme?
So Breaking Dawn, it kind of ties in with your theme of resilience that you have for your gala as well.
Right.
So basically, when we say that the change is within you, and we talk about breaking dawn, we talk about self-development and all about your self-growth. And that kind of ties into resilience, because everybody goes through struggles in life and through triumphs and through challenges. So basically what our conference this year focuses on is the social issues, the spiritual issues, and how we can reflect on those and how we can grow as women. So through our different workshops and tutorials that we have, we just we encourage all the women to come down there and to just work on their self-development, their self-growth, as well as their children.
Okay, excellent. And what do you think about, I realize you've mentioned the word spiritual and kind of spiritual challenges and sort of development, right? So can you tell us a little bit about how can religion play a role in supporting women through certain issues? Absolutely,
and that's exactly what this conference sort of stands for.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, this conference is not meant for only Muslim women; it's meant for all women. But basically, we bring about a platform, and we provide the resources and the tools from within Islamic perspective, within Islamic twist.
Right. And
we show how through Islam and through being a pious woman, you can overcome these challenges and just grow as an individual as well through those. Yes.
Right. And what I mean, and I know, being somebody of faith as well, how important that spiritual connection can be in terms of healing and stuff, right? So that's really great. And I mean, I think part of it also is just recognizing that it's a place for women to gather to build sisterhood, right? To build that sense of sort of momentum, if you will, and movement, right?
Absolutely,
in terms of trying to progress as women. Yeah, so that's great. And can you tell us, you've kind of talked about the conference itself, but what is your sense of what does resilience mean?
Resilience to me just means overcoming challenges. That's what it basically means to me. Everybody goes through challenges in life. Everybody has their own problems. No problem is too small or too big, right? So at the end of the day, I think to be resilient is to kind of find ways to overcome those challenges and continue to be persistent in your life and to continue to strive to be the best person that you can.
For sure.
So that's sort of what resilience is to me.
That's great. And do you find that, what has been the impact of Being Me and your conference, and about, I know you have tours and different
Yes.
events, and I've had a
We'll
chance
talk
to be a
about
part of
those.
some of these events,
Yes.
which has been really great. So
Yes.
tell us, what's been the impact of the work that you're doing?
So through the various programs that we have, like I said, the conference, which, we invite speakers, for international speakers that talk about, spiritual issues. We have workshops that talk about social issues.
Right.
We have tutorials about things like live art and fitness. We have open mic and spoken word where we invite the audience to
Right.
come and actually express themselves.
That's fantastic.
And then we also have a children's conference for the youth
Okay.
and for the younger generations.
Okay.
We also have legacy tours where we go to different masjids and we bring our programs to those masjids.
Right.
We have coffee therapies where all of us Muslim women sit in a public cafe, in a public space, and we discuss social topics and challenges and hot topics that we find in our world today.
Right.
We have school programs for the youth as well to engage them and keep them engaged in our Muslim community.
Okay.
And throughout all these have different impacts.
Right.
But you know what? It's not just a one-day impact. Like our conference is once a year, but our impact is everlasting.
Right.
At the end of the day, what you take from that day is so much more than just a program where you go and attend.
Right.
You learn from these speakers. You listen to them. You're meant to connect with them and with their stories and how it relates to yours. You're meant to gain the knowledge that they pass down to you.
Right.
So it's so much more. Like the impact, through the different stories that we've shared, honestly, it's pretty inspiring. If you go there and you speak to some of the women there, we have an open platform for reverts, for non-Muslims, for Muslims, for children. It's for everybody. So everybody has a different story, and it's pretty great to see the impact that they have.
That's great.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And so when we talked about resilience a little bit earlier, but and we've acknowledged that a lot of, everyone has challenges. And in particular, especially because we're on sort of the topic of International Women's Day,
Yes.
recognizing just how much work has been done in terms of International Women's Day and we were back in history, back in the 1910s, 1917s and stuff when International Women's Day began with, women's rights activists who were trying to, get access to the suffrage, the right to vote and stuff like that. I think it's sort of, for me anyway, it almost feels like it's a bit bittersweet, right? Because it's like you're celebrating on one hand, saying, this is all the great work that women are doing and we've accomplished, but it almost feels like there's still so much work to do, right? Which there is.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if also Being Me gives women an opportunity to kind of, like yourself, participate in sort of moving that agenda forward.
So that's exactly what Being Me stands for.
Right.
At the end of the day, if you have an idea, you have a way of supporting the community, you want to give back to the community, you want to bring programs, various programs and different issues that exist to the community. If you want to dedicate your time, we'll provide the resources.
Right.
That's what's so great about organizations like Being Me.
Wonderful.
Right? So if you have a specific topic that you'd like to tackle, like mental health or something, or various issues, and you have an idea and you want to bring it forward and you want to bring it to the community because you feel like the community needs it, that's exactly what Being Me would do. It'll give you the resources, the tools, the platform, and you just have to put in the work. So it's, at the end of the day, if us as women want to help each other, then this is Being Me does that for you.
Wonderful.
Right.
And what advice would you give to women who are looking to sort of, break through some of those barriers and try to, just, be all of who they can be?
So I invite them to join organizations like Being Me, even if it's not, any organization that helps people advance to become, especially women, that helps women advance, that helps women become their better self, that helps them promote themselves, promote their businesses, promote the opportunities that we're provided in this world. I think we need to dedicate our time. That's the most valuable thing. So for those women who want to do that, I invite them to join organizations like Being Me, dedicate their time, and just help the community the best that we possibly can. That's all we could do, absolutely.
And what kind of, can I ask, just because I'm mindful of the audience and some of the people in the audience, how does it work with mums? Are there a lot of mums that are involved in your organization too, with little kids and stuff?
Absolutely. Okay. We invite all moms, and there's many opportunities. I know some people can say, "Oh, I'm a mom. I don't have time. I have children."
Right.
But there's so many opportunities for mothers to join. We're very flexible. At the end of the day, you are volunteering your time.
For sure.
You're not meant to be overworked. You're not meant to be, you know what I mean? So it is you know, as long as we have the support from each other, from our sisters, which we
Right,
do, because
right.
we all support one another.
For
That's
sure.
all that matters, and we're all there for each other at the end of the day. Like, you know, it's not just an organization where we work.
Right.
We're also a community. You know what I mean? Like when someone's upset, we call each other and talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's not just work. It's also a community and like a sisterhood that you're developing in the community as well.
Yeah, no, totally. And I hear that. And like if with our AZEEZA, you know, for women, like our show and then now our gala and our programming as well is the same thing. I mean, we've become like a family, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A sisterhood of women, and you know, we're all, and the thing is, like, everybody's struggling with their own challenges, right?
Absolutely.
But we're still there to help each other, you know,
Absolutely.
and to support one another when we're going through difficult times, and we're still able to accomplish and achieve such amazing things. So
Absolutely.
it's really great to know that, you know, you guys are doing some really great work, and you know, it's wonderful. So, question for you. You have this, your conference coming up.
Yes.
How can people learn more about your conference?
So you can learn more about our conference by going on our website link, which has all of our various events.
Mm-hmm.
The website is called attendbm.com.
Okay.
So attendbm.com.
Okay.
And it has more information about the conference where you can purchase tickets. We also have other programs all year round, such as the legacy tours, such as the coffee therapies, such as the school programs, where you can also find those events on that link as well.
Okay, great. And can you tell us a little bit about the conference?
So the Being Me conference is on March 23rd at the Metro Toronto Convention Center.
Right.
It's from the morning to all throughout the day.
Sure.
And it's basically where we have various lectures that throughout the day in the main hall. We have workshops throughout the day that talk about, you know, mental health, you know, social issues, moms, pregnancy, you know, matrimonial, all kinds of issues. We also have tutorials to talk about fitness and live art. We have a center stage where we invite speakers to come up, to audience to come up and talk, and you know, whether it's spoken word, authors, poems, whatever they prefer. We have a youth conference as well.
Right.
And then, yes, and you know, it's a marketplace for businesses to showcase their brand, and many more. And then also the day after, on Sunday, March 24th, we actually have a retreat for the women as well, where they can actually have a more in-depth and interactive experience with the speakers.
Right.
It's not just a conference setting, it's more one-to-one on one.
Excellent. Well, that's wonderful. So I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for all the work you're doing. Thank you to your entire team for all that you do. And thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. And I just want to say one thing.
Sure.
I know that you're going to be on March 16th in our coffee therapy panel. And I just want to say thank you for coming out and for being a part of that.
My pleasure.
And I hope that everybody else gets to come out and see that. Absolutely.
For sure. All right. Well, we'll be back right after the break. I'll see you then. Hi everyone, welcome back. You're watching the AZEEZA show. So I wanted to take a moment to share with you an event that we just did. It was our very first AZEEZA for Women Gala, the Resilience Gala, which was done in partnership with the Daily Bread Food Bank, and all benefits went to the food bank itself and to support challenging hunger in Toronto, which is really great. So part of the lineup was, singer-songwriter Julie Black, who was our main keynote for the evening. And then after her, we had some really great entertainment and a power panel of amazing, incredible women who shared their stories of resilience. And so let's take a look at some of the highlights from the event.
we'll know that there's always tomorrow. Sing it, y'all, there's a lot of y'all. Loud, let's go. When you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. Come on, y'all. Come on, easy. Come on. We're at the Daily Bread Food Bank. Let's go. Come on now. It won't be long till I'm gonna need. Sing it, y'all. Somebody to lean on. You just what? You just call on your brother when you need a hand. Come on now. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Listen for a second. There's going to be a lot of people coming into this very space, this very building. We have the opportunity to tune this room, no different than the way my guitar and bass player tune their instruments. When we walk into a space, we have the opportunity to set the atmosphere and to inject the space with an energy that is going to be palpable. It's going to be something that we can feel, we can taste, we can practically touch it. People coming in here that may not have their dignity. People needing support, afraid to ask for it. No one should need support and hang their head low. Because the most power and confident people I see out there are those who are willing to ask for help. So when you have the opportunity to give, you may not have much, but sometimes someone just needs someone to lean on. And someone that doesn't look like them. We need allies. We need allies. Women, we are the neck. Men are the head. We have to work together. So as we go through life, and time is up, and Me Too, and Women's Day, let's not forget about our men, our boys, our fathers, our grandfathers, our brothers, our uncles. Because so many have been emasculated, and have been broken down, and have been labeled bad. Because as my mom used to say, the good sometimes suffers for the bad. But we're gonna eradicate that foolishness. Because it took two to give us breath. A man and a woman to give us life. So let's remember, I had to find forgiveness. I had to forgive myself for being angry at my father, for my parents divorcing and him not being there. But it was one day in a yoga class, true story, that this yogi said on a Father's Day class, she said, I celebrate Father's Day. She was 50 years old. She said, I hadn't seen my father since I was 12.
So, I guess, I think everyone has a story. I myself have a story. I think like Julie Black has like inspired me for like songs, like nobody knows the trouble that, no? Okay. Anywho, I think that there's like a lot of things that I could say, hardships that I've gone through in my life, but I think like two really, when I think about like resiliency and where I myself can, because I think we're our hardest critics, but when I can look back and be like, yeah, you did that, I think I could say there's two instances. I mean, my mother passed away at a very young age, so I was 2 weeks before my 14th birthday. My mother passed away of cardiac arrest really suddenly. And so, in a moment like that, obviously loss is traumatic, and a parent being one, and my mother was a single mother. And so having to really start to navigate what that looked like. My sister, who is not much older than me, we kind of had to like look at each other and be like, I guess we gotta figure this thing out, And shortly after that, my sister moved away, and so at 16, I found myself having to like work and maintain my grades and kind of navigate paying bills and all of those things that you you know, at this day and age, people don't figure out until they're like 30. But, you know, so I think resiliency in that was really important to me, and I think it also has kind of like led me to the work that I'm doing now, because I had so many people, unusual suspects, kind of like come up behind me and encourage me and surround me, and community programming. Like, when I was younger, there wasn't like a thing I didn't do. We're super broke. Who would have known, right? Like most immigrant parents, my parents came to this country and they lived in Toronto housing, but that was not very evident to me. And so as I kind of went through this, like, oh, whoa, this is life, I had to learn how to navigate. So I think like that definitely is a point in my life where I can look back and say like.
So for me, born and raised in Ghana, I came to Canada when I was like 19 years old. In Ghana, I was very, very spoiled. I did not grow up poor. I am not a poor African child, no, nothing like that. I grew up well, you know, well taken care of, lived well, went to good schools, dressed properly, ate properly. I mean, I lived a life in Ghana. My parents made sure that I was we were well taken care of, my siblings and I. We were not overly rich, but we were not the poster child that you see, the hungry African child. No, that wasn't me. And then somewhere along the way, somebody decided Canada would be good for me. So they sponsored me, and I came. And 32 years later, I'm still angry at the person that brought me here. Sometimes I want to drive over there and give them my peace of mind. But needless to say, like you said, your mom passed away, mine didn't pass away, they just shipped me to Canada. And ooh, here I am. I have to figure out how to live. Remember, I was very loved, I was pampered. So here I am all of a sudden with people, family, but they're strangers to me because I don't know them. I grew up, my siblings, there are 8 of us siblings, brothers and sisters, and we're all 2 years apart. So we're very close to each other. There was nowhere you could turn that there was no help. There was love, there was help. Anything you needed at any time, there was somebody to help you. But here I was in Canada on my own. Canada's cold. I'm with strange people. I can't go back to Ghana because my uncle brought me here. Who am I to go back? When I call, they'll be like, oh, you know, he brought you. You can't disgrace the family. I'm like, all right. So Miss Anna had to go and figure herself out. Remember, as a young girl, I hadn't thought too much. I didn't need to. Everything was nice and cozy. So I didn't have a choice there. Resilience had to become my lifestyle because now I had to go out and look for a job. Go to school. The people that came to me were not going to school. Who am I to say I'm going to school? So I joined the factory line. I joined whatever everybody was doing. But growing up in Ghana, I saw women such as myself who were doctors and lawyers and business women and mothers and beautifully dressed, nice women that, you know, had their fat and everything and looked good. I had to be strong. I had to find a job. I had to try and go to school. I had to try.
So resilience and what resilience means to me. Resilience means to me being a child that is ripped from their home. Resilience means to me 2 parents who are asked to pack not only their 5 children, but to pack all their life within half an hour and to have everything fit into suitcases. Resilience means walking away from a life that you built piece by piece for 20 years, never to look back until 27 years later. Resilience to me means being a child and being thrown in a foreign land and with a foreign language, being sent to school, not only to be with children that speak brilliantly and can express their thoughts and ideas, but can read and write, and for the expectation for you to bring home A pluses. And that first foreign language for me was Arabic. Because a lot of people mix us with Arabs. We're not Arabs, we're Somalis. We have our own language. So, and resilience to me means, again, being a 16, 17-year-old and being thrown in another foreign land to learn another foreign language and to be going to school and hearing expressions that I didn't understand, people who are able to express themselves in a brilliant ways and wondering if I will ever be able to speak as they do. And also coming home, expecting to bring home A pluses, but continuously bringing those D's and D minuses and some F's. Despite staying up almost 1 a.m. every night, waking up at most mornings at 3 a.m., there's a saying that my brother used to say, either you have a brilliant mind of gold that has been through fire, or you have to have daba alwah, that means your behind should be made out of wood, so you can sit for all those hours. So I have resulted to having a wooden behind. Resilience means to me, with definitely the support and the love of my family, going to university, and finally bringing home that degree and some of those A's. But also coming out in the cold with a degree, but without any connections, without experience, because my head was buried in the books. I didn't know where the career center was. I didn't know about interviews. I didn't know about resumes. I just wanted to come home and show my parents that the degree that they came and struggled to make sure that I had it in my mind, in my hand. But also recognizing that that piece of paper meant nothing if you didn't have the connection, if you didn't know how to open those doors. The doors were all there. I just didn't have the keys.
We talk about this a lot, you know, and if it wasn't for our resiliency, we wouldn't be here today. So for me, resilience means surviving a genocide, and it's still not over. So that's the unfortunate part about it, is that my family, I can't speak for everyone, but my family, we've survived a lot of struggles. And when the colonizers came to this land, they really wanted us to just disappear and to just vanish. However, we're still here against all odds. So whenever you meet an Indigenous person, someone from Inuit, First Nation, Métis descent, you're looking at a miracle. You're literally looking at someone whose families withstood all of this trauma and oppression. So for my family, what happened is that as Canada was becoming a country, the Dominion of Canada, they wanted to expand their borders. So they started going west. And my family kept going west. So we kept on running and running from all of that trauma and chaos that was happening in this part of the country at that time. Eventually we couldn't run anymore, and treaties began to be signed out on the prairies. And at that time, the Crown and its relations were slaughtering the buffalo. So for my people, the buffalo was our sustenance. It was what kept us alive. It was our food, it was our clothing, it was our shelter, it was our medicines, it was our music. It was everything that you could think of when it comes to someone's culture. And they were just being slaughtered. So that we would be forced to sign into treaties, and that would expand Canadian borders. However, my family, along with other Métis families, we refused to sign treaty. So we're not actually treaty people. So when you hear people say we're all treaty people, it's not actually true. There's a lot of Indigenous people that have never signed a treaty. So that also means that Canada is on occupied territory. So we decided we didn't want to sign these treaties, and because of that they called us half-breeds. And after that we became road allowance people. So these road allowance people, they weren't allowed on reserve, but they also weren't allowed in settler communities. And so we lived along the side of the roads in severe poverty. And we also weren't allowed into the education systems. Taxpayers didn't want us there because they said that we didn't pay taxes. And we were also called terrorists. At that time, the RCMP also used to hunt us. It was not a good thing to be Indigenous or Métis or First Nation. And even though they were living in this severe poverty, you could still find pictures of my cookums. And these women still dressed amazing, you know? They still had their jewelry, they're still beading. They had these they used to like to wear these long trench coats. And I still wear those long coats too. So they taught me that no matter what circumstances you're living in, you still have to come and be present and be presentable, and you have to look like you should be there. So that's what I continue to do. And so after they were living on as road allowance people in the late 1930s, they were asked to come to Alberta.
Before I can explain why this topic is so important to me, I need to share my story. When growing up, I came here from East Africa when I was about 6 months old, and I was raised in Toronto until I was about 13 before I moved to Hamilton. My father was extremely abusive. He was sexist and he was misogynist. He tortured us. I remember him beating my mother to a bloody pulp. He was incredibly violent. When I was about 11 or 12 years old, I got my first period, and I remember he shamed and humiliated me in front of the entire family. And I remember feeling so degraded and dehumanized and feeling like an imposter in my own skin. I felt like I was a stranger in my own body. I didn't know I didn't understand the changes that were happening to my body, but I just knew that whatever these changes were, that they weren't for the good, because the abuse that I was already being subjected to intensified. I managed to organize my escape by collaborating with the Canadian government, and I came back here in one piece. However, the guardian that I lived with at the time was also extremely abusive. I was subjected to financial, emotional, mental, psychological, as well as sexual abuse. At the age of 17, I couldn't take it anymore and decided to move out on my own. During that time, I remember that menstrual hygiene was one of the most difficult things that I had to deal with, because I was an Ontario Works recipient and they were not giving me enough money to buy products, and so at least 1 week a month I had to buy less food, I had to eat less so that I could afford those products. This is the same issue that I was dealing with when I was in Kenya. We had to use cotton pads or rags because poor women weren't able to afford menstrual products. When I was 25 years old, I was working as a long-term care nurse, and I was also doing my undergraduate degree at Ryerson University. I was supposed to be working on an assignment when I decided instead to procrastinate on Facebook, but it actually worked out in my favor because I came across an article about period poverty. So at that moment that I read the story, and then my own experiences started to flash before my eyes, and I thought, oh, there is a name to this struggle that I went through. It's called period poverty. And it was about a homeless woman who was talking about how difficult it is for her to access menstrual products because they weren't being offered in shelters or in food banks or any community agencies that she frequented. So at that moment I thought, this is horrific, but I realized that my experiences weren't unique to me. I think up until that point I was really in survival mode. I was just trying to get through. Then I realized that what I went through wasn't just because I had an abusive father, and it wasn't just because I lived in a third world country for a while. It was part of the systemic abuse and violence towards women and the economic disenfranchisement of women. And so at that moment I decided to start FemCare. It was supposed to be just a grassroots project collecting menstrual products from members of the community. This was back in International Women's Day in 2015. And within a month we managed to raise about $4,000 to $5,000 worth of donations. And I thought, wow, what a very positively overwhelming response. This is obviously something the community sees a need for. And they asked me, my community asked me if I would run another drive, and so I wasn't planning on it, but I did. And then I continued to run the drives until 2016, I got into a very serious car accident that left me permanently disabled. And I live with severe chronic pain, like I'm in a lot of pain right now.
So there you have it, some incredible highlights from the event. I mean, I was so inspired, and I hope you are as well, hearing some of the women speak about their stories, the amount of challenges people go through, and yet they're able to, you know, continue to stand back up and move forward is quite remarkable and super inspiring. So until next week, take care, and we'll see you then. Bye.